I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. Why? It's because today we'll be interviewing someone who means so much to me. This woman, I've been in her school since I was in class 6 until I cleared my high school in Form 4. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Dr. Mary Okello. On this episode of The Boss Lady.
Jobs were so many. People were coming to recruit us from the university.
The first female bank manager in all of Africa recounts her journey to the top.
The rules and the practices and the regulations were very discriminatory. Women were not allowed to have bank accounts. When I told the bank that I was getting married, they were very shocked because they said they didn't expect me to get married. I said, but when I joined, nobody told me that I was not supposed to get married.
Dr. Mary Okello tells us her experience as the first African woman bank manager.
They had to get permission from London for me to carry the bank keys in a handbag. My name is Mary Okello, founder of Makini Schools, Kenya Women Finance Trust, Barclays Bank Mentoring Program, and this is Boss Lady.
Dr. Elizabeth Mary Okello was the founder and first chairlady of Kenya Women Finance Trust. She serves on the board of directors of Makini Group of Schools, but prior to that, she had a long career in banking, serving as the first female Africa bank manager of Barclays Bank Kenya Limited in East Africa. She graduated with an honors degree in history from Makerere University in Uganda and holds a postgraduate diploma in early childhood education from Frobel College in Dublin, as well as a diploma from the Institute of Bankers in London. She is a fellow of the Kenya Institute of Bankers. She is a holder of 2 honorary doctorates, one from the United Graduate College and Seminary in the USA for her contribution to humanity, and the other from African Nazarene University, Nairobi, for distinguished service to the community. Dr. Okello has had numerous other positions, like Senior Advisor to the President of African Development Bank, founder of Makini Group of Schools, and first regional representative of Women's World Banking. With all these achievements, find some of the things you may not know about Dr. Mary Okello.
I enjoy helping other women grow up. And I say I hold a ladder for women to climb up. So wherever I have been, I have tried to see that I make room and help other women to grow. So empowering women is one of the things that I love doing. And children too. I love children, and also nurturing children so that they can develop just like you.
Just like me, and I'm proud. So let's just start from birth. Where were you born?
I was born in a village in Busia, near the border of Kenya and Uganda. I come from a tribe, the Samia tribe, both in Kenya and in Uganda. So sometimes we say we belong to both countries, Uganda and Kenya. Yes. I grew up in a very strict Christian home. My father was a pioneer clergyman, so his work was to create churches to evangelize people, bring people to God. So I grew up in a very strict and disciplined home. I have many brothers and sisters. There were 17 of us. And we grew up in a very happy and loving environment. And that's why I love children, because I had a very happy upbringing, very disciplined, but at the same time we were brought up to believe that we are here for a purpose, to add value, to contribute to society, to serve humanity. And so those values of, and being one, being each other's keeper. That's why I say empowering other women is very close to my heart. For example, when I was in the bank, when I joined Barclays Bank many years ago, the rules and the practices and the regulations were very discriminatory. Women were not allowed to have bank accounts. Women in the bank, the staff could only be tea girls, cashiers, and clerks, but not to rise to managerial positions. So when I became a manager, I took it upon myself to see that some of these practices had to be changed so that these intelligent women who could also rise to managerial positions could get a chance. So I started by questioning and challenging the regulations that were keeping women down. But at the same time, I started a mentoring program for young women who are in the bank so that they could rise up. What I used to do, I had done my banking in London, so I had notes from the Institute of Bankers, and I would share with them, encourage them to get their professional qualifications so that when I asked for their promotion or to move up, at least they had
something
to back it up. Yeah. Yes. And this mentoring program, I'm happy to say, has worked well. Barclays Bank at one time had the highest number of women managers in the country. I think it is the only listed company on the stock market which has 50% of their board members as women.
The banking sector in Kenya is ever evolving, despite the numerous economic challenges that have been witnessed within the sector. Kenya currently has 44 banks. 31 of the banks are locally owned, while the remaining 13 are foreign-owned. Among the 31 locally owned banks, the government of Kenya has a shareholding in 3 of them, 27 of them are commercial banks, and only one of them is a mortgage finance institution known as Housing Finance. The treacherous financial journey in Kenya dates back to the colonial times. The British Empire declared Kenya a British sphere of influence and established the East African Protectorate in the year 1865 and officially declared Kenya as a colony in the year 1920. During that 19th century, the East African region engaged in trading activities and there was need for the use of currency. That was when the revolution in the banking sector kicked off. In 1986, a year after the establishment of the British administration in Kenya, National Bank of India came into being. Many people think that the British were the first people to establish banks in the country, but the first bank ever in Kenya came from India, thus the National Bank of India. In 1910, Standard Bank of South Africa came into being. 6 years after coming to Kenya, the National Bank of South Africa merged with Anglo-Egyptian Bank Limited to form Barclays Bank. Barclays Bank was, therefore, born in 1910 as a merger between National Bank of South Africa and Anglo-Egyptian Bank Limited. In 1953, Bank of India and Bank of Baroda were set up. In the year 1955, the Ottoman Bank and the Commercial Bank of Africa were established. Cooperative Bank of Kenya opened its doors in the year 1968. The National Bank of Kenya took over the Ottoman Bank in 1968 as well. In 1971, Kenya Commercial Bank was formed as a result of the merger between National and Greenlands Bank, with the government owning a stake of 60%. The merged bank division of Greenlands was merged with Greenlands Bank International Limited and formed a Stanbic Bank. Bucks Bank of Kenya has been in operation in Kenya for 97 years. CFC Stanbic Bank has been up and kicking for the last 58 years, while Equity Group Holdings Limited has been in existence for 32 years. Housing Finance has been in Kenya for 51 years, while I&M Holdings for 44 years, Kenya Commercial Bank for 41 years under the brand, and National Bank of Kenya for 53 years, NIC Bank of Kenya for 57 years, Standard Chartered Bank for 47 years, while Cooperative Bank of Kenya has been into existence for 51 years, though it went public as a bank in the year 2008. Now that you know a little history in the Kenyan banking sector, let's go back to Dr. Mary Okello. We moved from Busia
to Barclays.
to Barclays.
Okay. I went to Ladaroko School in Nambale, and then Butere, and then Alliance Girls High School. I went to Alliance. I was in a class of 13 girls who were selected to start the A levels in this country. So it was very competitive.
That's one of the firsts.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of the first. So we'll keep on counting. I'll bring you guys up to speed. So she's one of the 13
we
girls.
were 13 girls who were selected to start the A level in their country. It was very competitive. We used to be reminded that if we didn't work hard, the government was not going to invest in education for girls. So we had to work very hard, and by the grace of God, all of us did very well. From that class, we had the first woman judge, Justice Effie War. We also had Elizabeth Masiga, who was Chief Inspector of Schools and later became Permanent Secretary. We had Charity she was Elizabeth Mwangi, but Charity mother-in-law in the...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Charity from mother-in-law, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we worked hard, and I think all of us can say we succeeded in our various professions.
Do you still keep in touch?
Yes, we do. Justice Effie War is one of my closest friends. Yes, and by sheer coincidence, our farms are next to each other in Kibos.
Oh, okay. No, that's a good thing. It's very close. So
Yes.
after Alliance, you went on to...
After Alliance, before I went to Makerere, there is always a bit of like a year. You finish in December and you join university in September. I worked for a short time. I was trained as a prisons officer, cadet officer, where I marched, I saluted, I carried guns, yes, and worked for a short time in the prisons after graduating as a trained prisons officer. And then I left to go to university, where I studied history.
In Makerere?
In Makerere University,
Right.
Yes.
And that, of course, took about 4 years, 3 years.
3 years.
And then you went on.
And then after Makerere, for a very short time, during that time, jobs were so many. People were coming to recruit us from the university. So there was somebody who came from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and he told us about diplomacy. And I was so fascinated that I decided to join. So I joined there I was in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for 6 months.
Is this in Kenya or Uganda?
In Kenya.
Okay.
And I loved it. It exposed me to meet different people. Like I remember the late president of Guinea, Sékou Touré, came, and he was one of those people I had a lot of admiration for because he was a very outstanding leader. And so it was very interesting. But I found it difficult because I'm not very diplomatic.
What?
So
What do you mean you're not very?
I say things as they are.
Yeah.
And you see, in diplomacy, you have to couch your language. You can't. So I found it difficult, But I think one of the things that really made me leave was there was some sexual harassment. I was young, and some people thought that. So I quit. I left to go. I left. At that time, Barclays Bank was recruiting undergraduates to train them as in management. So I applied. They were not taking women, so I had to persist. They turned me down a few times.
As usual, during those days, gender discrimination was the order of the day. We take a breather now. When we come back, we find out, did she ever get that job, and how did she climb the ladder to become the first African female bank manager?